What up, what up, what up? This is Mike the Philosopher here with another one. This one is Divorce Court. Not gonna hold you. Let's go.
Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Starr presiding. Your Honor, this is the case of Shepard versus Shepard.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Shepard and Mr. Shepard. Mrs. Shepard, you say your marriage is at a low point and you need some clarity. You say your husband is disrespectful and does not make your family a priority. You need to see some actual change or you want a divorce.
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Shepard, you say you want to save your marriage. You say you need your wife to be more understanding and realize that it takes two to make this relationship work.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Mr. and Mrs. Shepard, you all have been together 14 years, married 11 years. You've blended your family, taken on each other's adult children. Mrs. Shepard, how did we get here today?
Well, I truly feel like my husband is going through a midlife crisis. He has chosen a second career path, doing comedy, that's not making any money, and it's really flipped everything on its head. I feel like I'm no longer the priority, our family's not the priority, and I'm just to the end of my rope at this point.
Mr. Shepard, you heard your wife. She says you are having a midlife crisis. Are you, sir?
I don't feel that way, Your Honor. I feel like I'm just pursuing a dream of mine. It's something I'm passionate about.
Uh-oh. Do I see my girlfriend here? There she is. Check her out right here, y'all. That's my girlfriend. She shows up every now and then on the divorce court. I just think she has a very symmetrical, beautiful face. And I notice her in the crowd. But yep, that's my DC girlfriend, divorce court girlfriend. Anyway, let's hear more of the story.
And I want to save my marriage, but I feel like this is a two-way street, and I really need her support.
So let's see where the priorities actually lie in this relationship, because at the end of the day, the family and the relationship has to be priority number one. Yeah. Why don't you take me back to when you all...
Okay, hold on. Let me see something once. And let me say this.
Has to be priority number one.
Okay, so this is my other DC girlfriend right here. I think she's pretty dope right here. So I got two DC girlfriends. I see them both in this episode. Just had to say that. Let's go in.
Why don't you take me back to when you all first got together? How'd you meet? And what has happened and transpired in your relationship to get us to divorce court?
Well, we met on an online dating app 14 years ago. We had a lot in common and hit it off immediately.
Wow, she looked real nice right there. Check out Ricky. Okay.
We'd both been married previously. We both had kids that were about the same age. We just seemed to have a lot in common and had a lot of fun. You know, we took our time and dated for a while and ultimately got married.
So everybody sort of grew up together. And now they are adults and they think of you both as mom and dad, correct?
Correct.
So what were you doing when you all first met? Were you a professional woman? Were you working outside of the home?
No, I was a professional. I already had a full-blown career when we met. We both did.
So, Mr. Shepard, I turn to you. You were working in finance when you all first met. Am I correct?
Yep, and I still am.
Okay, and did you consider yourself to be successful during that time?
Yeah, I think so.
You all were able to afford a lifestyle that was conducive to doing all the things that you all wanted to do?
Certainly.
What has changed, Mrs. Shepard, in that?
Well, about 4 years ago, he came to me saying he wanted to do this comedy.
Okay.
He was already doing a mortgage business and things were great. Like he said, he had a successful business, things were going well. I didn't see any problems with it at all until he decided to take a step back from that.
So wait, you thought it was like a new hobby?
Absolutely. When he said he wanted to do comedy, I was like, oh, well, that's a nice hobby. I didn't know it would be a comedy career. It's like he already has a career that at the time was paying well, but once he started really getting going with this comedy, it just kind of took over. I feel like things shifted after that.
Mr. Shepard, I'm going to ask you about the comedy. Talk to me a little bit about this new direction.
You know, it's something that I've always been interested in, and when she and I first met, I was working in some capacity in film. and I was really interested in comedy at the time, and we would go to a lot of comedy festivals together. So it was just fast forward a few years that I decided to just give it a go. And I figured I'm not getting any younger. So I had fun with it, and I got better, and I continue to get better with it. Entertainment's a tough nut to crack. But she was supportive at first. She would go to all the mics, all the shows that I would promote and put together. And now it's just like she'd rather sit at home and watch TV.
Mrs. Shepherd, why was there a change in your attitude?
Well, I don't feel like there was a change. I think the change was that he started doing comedy more, being out 5-6 nights a week sometimes, and out late. His comedy's not bringing money through the door. I just felt like it wasn't a priority for me, and I can't stay out late all the time. I got to get up and work in the morning. He supposedly has to get up and work in the morning, but I've noticed that he stays out late, gets up later, and I feel like that's hurting his mortgage business.
Has it impacted on your family financially?
Absolutely. I've had to pick up a second job because the mortgage business is falling off.
So is the financial burden on you primarily now?
It is totally on me. There's been times when he's not been able to pay some bills on time, like our light bill. I had to actually dip into my 401k to take out $5,000 just to keep us afloat.
$5,000.
What do y'all think, man? What do y'all think? Do y'all think that he's in the wrong for this? Do you think she's in the wrong? Let me say this. Oftentimes, a lot of men don't really get support from their wives when they're passionate about something. They just don't. If it's not making money, if it don't make money, it don't make sense to women. Okay? What is that song? If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. And that's just how it seems with a lot of women. Now, to be fair, she should not have to get a second job to keep the house afloat. So this guy, he had a nice little mortgage career, making money and paying bills, and now he's doing his comedy full time, and it's not bringing in enough money. It's just not bringing in enough money. She did get a second job to keep things afloat, but I'm curious to know what his response to all of this is. I mean, how can you as a man watch your woman get a second job to pay all the bills while you don't pay any bills? How can you as a man sit there and watch your wife do that? So a part of me is like, look, we only got a short amount of time on this little marble called Earth, man. If you want to live your passions, you should be able to do that. And you should have your spouse support. However, you should not put your spouse in a position where they have to pick up your slack financially in order to do so. So I'm going to right now say that he is most in the wrong, because he said, but here's the thing. He said he still does mortgage. So I don't understand why there's no money coming in. If he's still doing mortgage, why is there no money coming in? If he's going to do comedy, it should be as a hobby. It should be as to just to get his passion off. If he's passionate about it, just to get that thing that he likes to do off his chest. But he should not put his wife in a position where she got to pick up a second job. But let's try to hear how he explains his way out of this. Let's go in.
$1,000 sounds like a bunch of bills had accumulated, not just one thing came due. Mr. Shepherd, what's going on with finances in your family?
Well, Your Honor, the mortgage industry in any kind of sales has ups and downs. I mean, there are months where it's 5 figures, and then there's months where it's 0 figures.
I completely understand that, but
Yeah.
every month you have to get up and go to work. Every month you have to make a call, participate in a Zoom, go to a meeting,
And I'm doing that every day. I'm up
And-
at 5 a.m. sometimes starting my day.
has the comedy paid off?
It's starting to. I mean, I'm starting to get free drinks out of it.
That don't pay the light bill.
Right. Sometimes I'll sell out a show and I'll make a good amount of money.
What's a good amount of money?
On a weekend, maybe $1,000.
Okay, again, Mr. Shepherd, I'm gonna be real, because both of you are in your 50s. This is the time where people start to look at, okay, what the future is. We're gonna actually pull back a little bit this year because we wanna put a little extra money over here, because in 10 years, we wanna ease back a lot more so we don't have to work ourselves into the ground. Two professionals, that's usually where they start to plan. Am I right, Ms. Shepherd?
I think you are spot on, Judge. I go to a show one night, he tells a joke and starts talking about my old saggy lady breasts. I'll just put it that way.
Oh, heck
that
no.
was the Thank you.
I love my wife, and if I said anything, it was all in good fun.
But good fun
most of
for
my-
you, but not good fun for her.
My wife's old saggy tig old bitties. Okay. It's bad enough, bruh, that you ain't bringing in no money. But then when you start using your wife as material, you're asking for a divorce at this point. Anyway, let's go ahead.
So, Mr. Shepherd, what's your plan for your family? Because she says the financial burden has fallen on her. Is that true or not true?
That's not 100% true, actually. And, you know, a lot of time, we were sitting on a pretty good nest egg at one point in time. I went to go buy tacos one day, and my card was declined. And I couldn't figure out why,
For just some tacos?
just for some tacos. And then I had discovered after looking at our bank account and our transaction history that over the course of 8 months, one of my stepsons had tied his DoorDash to our checking account and was living it up and ordering sushi boss and steak. And this was over 8 months, he spent $5,000 in DoorDash.
Oh, that would have been a problem.
It was a problem.
What
a
happened,
big
Ms.
problem.
Shepherd, with that?
Well, I'm going to say, in my defense, Your Honor, we have adult children that sometimes need help. Now, he took advantage of that help. I admit fully to that. But I feel like he also has to give me a little bit of leeway because we both provide for our children. But I also feel like if I'm earning most of the money and I'm taking care of everything, if I got our retirement set up, because at this point my retirement is his retirement, I feel like there shouldn't be much he can say to me at this point.
You know exactly what that sounds like, Mr. Shepherd, and hear her when she says it. I'll interpret for you. If you were bringing in some money, then you'd have room to say something. Since you're not bringing in money, give me some leeway because my kid made a mistake. I take responsibility for the kid making a mistake, but hey, all that money that he stole was mine.
I totally agree. And to make matters worse, this comedy thing he made me think was going to supplement what he was already bringing in with the mortgages, and is really not doing that. Not at all. He has probably ended up losing money on this.
Mrs. Shepherd, I understand you said that as a part of this new comedy dream, there's been some disrespect and boundaries broken that you're not happy with also.
Yeah. I mean, if the finances weren't enough, I feel like the comedy scene just is not good for our marriage. And he has no boundaries when it comes to the jokes he tells. I try to be a supportive wife. I try to get out to the shows. But I go to a show one night and he's like, yucking it up. And, he gets to the material where he's talking about me, which that's fine. I'm used to all the male comedians talking about, oh, my wife, women be shopping, that kind of stuff. That's okay. But he tells a joke and starts talking about my old saggy lady breasts. I'll just put it that way.
Oh, heck
that
no.
Was the Thank you. I'm glad you had that same reaction. I was the same way. I'm like, now this is just disrespectful. He got the laughs he was looking for, but I don't feel like that's being supportive. Like I need to go that far. I'm like, I'm tired of being the butt of his jokes or the boobs of his jokes. Either way, this is not okay for me.
Mr. Shepard?
Your Honor, I love my wife, and I think she's beautiful. And if I said anything, it was all in good fun.
But good fun
most of
for
my
you, but not good fun for her.
Well, most of my material, I promise you that it was not a bad joke, and I would not.
Excuse me, a woman knows if you made a joke in public about her saggy breasts. Trust me, and the fact that she brought it up tells me that it hurt her feelings.
And so when I brought it up to him, he just kind of played it off like, oh yeah, but you know, we all say those things. I'm like,
Sort of like he just did for me.
yeah, exactly. They
She
say those
roasts
things
me
about their wives, not about
all the time. She
No.
roasts me all the time.
But she
It's
roasts
not the
you
same.
in the crib or with your friends or playing spades. She doesn't roast you in front of a bunch of strangers in a bar while they're drinking. That's inappropriate. There's a boundary. If your wife doesn't like to be the butt of your jokes and she finds it insulting, why would you do it? I mean, you don't want to push your wife away by trying to go for likes. Working for likes might make you lose the person you love, if you know what I mean. You all have.
Yeah. Being in comedy, I mean, he can make jokes without making fun of his wife. I know there are ways to make fun of your wife without being personal. Okay. So you could tell a funny story, or you know, we went to pick up a bucket of chicken or something, and you know, her legs look like the legs in the bucket, whatever. So, well, that's still personal. So what I'm saying is, you can still make a joke about your wife, because comedians do it all the time, but they tell a story without insulting their wife for the most part. That's the part of the game he's going to have to get better at. It's already bad that she ain't feeling his comedy career. But let me say this real quick though. When I was younger, right, I was gonna do this rap thing. I was gonna have a rap career, right? And my wife wasn't supportive at all. She wasn't even my wife at the time. She was just my girlfriend at the time. But she was like, "Oh, I don't want to be with somebody who's a rapper, this, that, and the third." So I gave up my rap career to be a family man. And I'll be lying if I said a part of me did not regret that decision, because that was my time to do it. You know what I mean? So I'm not necessarily for her not supporting her husband, but he got to make it easier for her to support him. He got to not insult her, number one. He got to make some money. Well, that's actually number one. And support and not insult her is number two. And he got to be home. See, a part of me feels like this guy is not happy in his marriage. That's why he's searching for something else. A part of me feel like he's not happy with his marriage, or with his life, or what his life turned out to be. He probably never had a passion of being a mortgage lender. Like, who dreams about mortgages? Like, for real. He probably wanted to do something with his life that was a little more memorable, you know? Like I said, I did end up regretting not pursuing my passions, and you know, it is what it is. So I'm all for people going for what their passion is, but you can't put the family at risk by doing it. That's my only thing. The fact that she got into her 401k just to keep them afloat, that's unacceptable. That's unacceptable. He should not have allowed her to go into her 401k for anything. But anyway, let's go in.
have brought one of your children who would like to give the court some insight.
If it were any other day of the week, I'd come to my dad's defense. He's my dad, but not today. The other day I overheard him say, I just want to split up and take my half of the house money. I'm going to live in a van, see the world, do comedy. It's just very immature.
I'm concerned that the boundaries were crossed, but I'm hoping that you understood that, right?
I do.
And I understand sometimes the fans can be a little, shall we say, overwhelming.
That's another thing that I feel like the comedy scene is not good for any marriage, but especially ours. So I didn't know until he got into comedy that they have like groupies that follow them around just like
There's
musicians.
groupies everywhere.
In my opinion, they are a little too friendly, too hands-on, and they almost don't even care. They don't discriminate. So one of them came up to him and was like, want to go out for drinks afterwards? And he's like, well, yeah, it depends on what my wife wants to do. And she tells him, well, she doesn't have to come. And I'm like, well, she's that bold when I'm right there in front of her, in front of my husband. What are they doing when I'm not there?
What did your husband say? I'm curious.
Well, he brushed it off.
I mean, it's not bad to get attention from someone, especially when you're 50 years old, to get attention from someone half your age that's attractive. So I was flattered, obviously, but I just said, no, thank you. I mean, that's it. I mean, unless she wants to bring a 25-year-old in to the marriage.
You are so lucky that my courtroom is not an open carry
Your Honor,
courtroom, because
that was a joke.
You might would have got shot just now.
That's just it. He doesn't take any of it seriously. And that's where I'm kind of like, I've about had it.
How serious is it for you, Mrs. Shepherd?
To me, it's very serious. Like, I didn't think this was the direction our lives were going. And here we are in the last 4 years. It's like got completely turned on its head.
This is so interesting because I would love a little insight. I understand that you all have brought one of your children who would like to give the court some insight as to what he has witnessed over the past 4 years, because that's when the ups and downs started to really manifest themselves. Robert, would you ask Jacob Shepherd to join us?
Sure.
Hello, Your Honor.
Hi, I could tell that you are Mr. Shepherd's son.
Am I that white?
And you might have his sense of humor also.
Oh, don't insult me like that.
Oh, no, Mr. Shepherd. For the record,
Yeah.
state your relationship to the defendant and the plaintiff.
So I am Jacob Shepherd. That's my father, Terry Shepherd. That's my stepmother, Ricky Shepherd.
And you all have been a family for some time now.
At least 10 years, but, she's been a real great mom. She's, been the main breadwinner. She hasn't told any lies up here. If it were any other day of the week, I'd come to my dad's defense. He's my dad, but, not today.
Because
She's kept us above water. She's kept us from drowning. She's done so much for us. The other day I overheard him say, I'm just getting tired of all this. I just want to, split up and take my half of the house money. I'm going to live in a van, see the world, do comedy, and then what? It's just very immature, Your Honor, while she does, everything.
Wow, Mr. Shepherd Sr., you heard a phenomenal young man that the two of you have raised articulate what the issues are. They did a better job than I did.
Well,
I wonder if he's the one who stole the $5,000 in DoorDash. I'd really be interested to know that. Yeah, he may be articulate, but he know how to order steak and lobster and stuff. But he seemed to have his stepmother's back, and that's very telling. I always find it very telling when the kids take a side, because it's not that it's always right, but it's just an interesting perspective, especially when they take the opposite parent's side. The one that not their birth parents. I find I kind of give that a lot of, not credibility, but it weighs heavy. It weighs heavy when they take the other parent side. He said, I just want to be done with it. I said earlier, I haven't seen this before. I said this earlier. He don't seem happy in his marriage. That's probably why he's doing all of this stuff. I think a part of him does want to just divorce, split everything down the middle. He don't want to live this pent up corporate life anymore. Is it a midlife crisis? It probably is. I ain't gonna hold you. It probably is. He talking about being a hippie, living out of a van, touring the country, doing comedy shows. He just wants a freedom that he probably never had before. No worries, no deadlines, no mortgages, no signatures here, and here, no market fluctuations in the market, the mortgage industry. No wife who's pent up and kind of stiff. Just he was probably getting suffocated until it just spilled over to his new hobby. And when you get to a certain age, you feel like, man, it's now or never. I'm a pursue this passion of mine now, or I'm just never gonna do it. I can't really live with that for the rest of my life. So he pursued it, and everybody else be damned for it, you know. But let's hear some more.
Well, he's a great kid, and he's very smart.
And the maturity that he just showed in saying to you what level of responsibility is was impressive to this court, at least. Yeah. I'm just asking what you thought of what he said.
Well, I can appreciate it. I mean, I understand what he was saying, and I think when I mentioned that, it was really in jest.
I know, but think about what your wife would say.
Yeah, because I think it's sad that your son, my stepson, can see the issues more clearly than you can.
Yeah.
Mr. Shepherd, are you interested in tossing this relationship? Is this what you want?
This is not at all what I want. I love my wife a lot, but I think that it does take two to tango, and she's mentioned finances, and there's been times that we have been sitting on money, and we have the peaks and valleys, and 100% commission. Sometimes we're flush with cash, and other times we're not. And I wish that she would show some restraint, because a lot of times I'll come home in a month where it is a slow month, and I'll have 3 or 4 packages from Amazon, and we've got a 3rd air fryer. And I'm like, why do we need 3 air fryers?
Mr. Shepherd, you're saying you don't feel a part of the financial decisions in your family anymore?
I feel that, yeah.
Mrs. Shepherd, why have you stopped including Mr. Shepherd in financial decisions?
Well, because I feel like if I'm carrying the brunt of the weight, then I should have the majority of the decisions. I feel like he creates double standards when it comes to money anyway.
Mrs. Shepherd is saying at this age and at this time in a relationship, she's not willing to sacrifice her longtime security for your comedy side hustle. That's really where it is.
Side hustle. And if he treated it as such, I would be perfectly fine, as long as there's no more jokes about my figure or any of my lady parts. I would be perfectly fine with that.
You understand what the concept of a side hustle is?
Yep.
You have to have a main hustle, and then you have a side hustle.
Yep.
You say you want to save your marriage?
I do.
I think you all would benefit from having a third party sit down and help you find ways to communicate again. Mrs. Shepherd, what do you think of that?
I would be open to that.
Because I do want Mr. Shepherd to feel heard in this marriage and to have his dreams, hopes, and aspirations put on the table as options for the future. Again, it still needs to be a side hustle until you are Chris Rock, okay? But I do think you'd benefit from having a third party's ear. What do you think, Mr. Shepherd?
I would welcome that. Yeah, I think it would be good.
Mrs. Shepherd, you agree?
Yeah, I agree. Again, as long as he understands side hustle means that side hustle's making money, not we're spending money on the side hustle.
I think she's laid it out for you.
All right.
Can you agree with that?
I can.
And I can agree that the court will order marriage counseling that allows you all to learn to talk to each other again. Because there's love here. There's family here. Y'all got grandbabies. Let's not mess this up. They want to be able to go to Nana and Pop-Pop's house and have good holidays. They don't want to be going to the comedy club and listening about their grandmother's saggy breasts. Which, by the way, they perky as a mug, girl. Don't worry about that.
Thanks.
They perky. The judge a trip. I don't really think that they are, but who cares what I think with that? Anyway, there you have it. Yeah, marriage counseling. I think that will help them out. I do think he needs to be heard. She said, oh, well, since I'm making all the money, I get to make all the decisions. That's not a good way to look at it, because if he made all of the money, you would still want to be part of the decisions, right? Right? You still want to be part of the decisions. And it's when a lot of women be like that. It's just like, she talk about double standards. Well, that's a double standard too. But I understand where she's coming from. But like I said, if the roles were reversed, she would still want some say so in how the money is spent. But there you have it. Let me know what y'all think about this. Put it in the comments. I really would like to know. Hit the like, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.